Have you ever felt your peace unravel because of one person's words? Maybe it was a subtle jab, a cold silence, or that familiar look that somehow made you feel small again. It's strange how easily another person's darkness can leak into your day, how quickly a careless comment can echo louder than any compliment. In moments like this, it's tempting to take it personally. But what if it's not really about you? What if what they project is just a reflection of their own unrest? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Go to their souls. See what sort of people they are. You'll realize there's no reason to be anxious over what they think of you." That shift in perspective can be a kind of freedom. A reminder that not all negativity deserves your attention and not every interaction requires your energy. So the question becomes, how do you stay grounded when someone tries to shake you? How do you protect your clarity in a world that often throws confusion? In this video, we'll quietly explore those answers together. If any part of this has already stirred something in you, I invite you to stay. You're exactly where you need to be. Number 1, master self-awareness under pressure. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, like someone didn't just speak to you, but reached inside and stirred something unsettled? Maybe it was a subtle jab, a dismissive glance, or just that familiar tension in your chest that rises every time you're near a certain person. Toxic people have a way of doing that. They don't always shout or argue. Sometimes they simply leave behind a residue, a kind of emotional smoke that lingers in the air. But the question is, are you aware enough to notice what that smoke does to you? In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's where your greatest strength begins, with self-awareness. Not with changing others, but with learning the contours of your own emotional responses. Just like a warrior studies the battlefield before drawing his blade, you must study your own reactions before stepping into conflict. Because awareness isn't softness, it's strategy. I once heard a story about an old fencing master. He told his students that the highest form of mastery wasn't the perfect strike, but the perfect dodge, to sidestep the blow before it even touched you. He would train them not to react to every swing, but to remain calm, to observe, and to move only when necessary. That's what dealing with toxic people can be like. You don't need to parry every insult or match every raised voice. Sometimes the most powerful move is to do nothing except to know exactly who you are. Imagine this. Someone lashes out, trying to pull you into their storm. But instead of being swept up, you take a breath. You ask yourself, why does this affect me? What is this person really showing me about themselves and about me? In that pause, you gain space. And in that space, you reclaim control. It's not about making excuses for them. It's about choosing not to let their chaos become your compass. Yes, there will be moments when you'll want to strike back, to prove a point, to show them you're not weak. But that reaction, however tempting, often leaves you feeling emptier than before. Because it's not the right way, it's just the most familiar one. Real strength lies in restraint, in responding with clarity, not impulse. Each time you act from awareness instead of ego, you reinforce the foundation of your inner fortress. You stop being tossed around by emotional weather and start standing like solid ground. And that's what this journey is. Not about changing toxic people, but about becoming someone they can no longer shake. So the next time you feel that rising storm, remember, you're not there to fight their fire. You're there to master your stillness. And from there, we move forward into the next truth. Number 2, forgive but never forget. Have you ever stood beneath the night sky, looking for one bright star to guide you, and instead found yourself pulled toward the emptiness where no light remains? That's what some people do to us. While a few shine like constellations, steady and clear, others move like black holes, subtle at first, but slowly drawing you into their gravity until you forget what light even looked like. The hardest part isn't the initial encounter. It's what they leave behind. The ache, the questions, the weight. So how do we keep flying when we've been dragged through that kind of darkness? Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, the right way is not to return fire, but to rise above it. And in that rising, forgiveness becomes your fuel. Not a passive pardon, not weakness, but a fierce act of inner clarity. To forgive is not to forget. It's to release yourself from the grip of resentment that poisons you long after the moment has passed. It's a choice made not for them, but for your own freedom. I once heard a story of a Roman courier who carried 2 scrolls wherever he traveled. One bore the names of those who had wronged him. The other held lessons he'd learned from the hardest roads. One day, after narrowly surviving betrayal by a close ally, he threw the first scroll into a river. When asked why, he said, "Carrying names only slows the horse, but carrying lessons, that keeps me alive." That's the heart of it. Forgiveness frees the weight, and memory sharpens the map. You see, memory isn't the enemy, it's the compass. It whispers, "You've seen this pattern before, don't walk in blind again." While forgiveness lets us move, memory makes sure we don't move in circles. You're not naive for letting go. You're wise for remembering where the danger lives. Like a seasoned navigator, you chart your course through stars and storms alike, and the bruises you've earned become coordinates, not curses. This is the quiet discipline of the warrior. To forgive without forgetting. To move with compassion, but never without awareness. In doing so, you become the kind of person who travels light, but sees deeply. Someone who's been through darkness and no longer fears it. So next time you feel the pull of someone's chaos, ask yourself, is this star guiding me, or is it devouring my light? Use your memory to steer clear and your forgiveness to travel far. And with that, we arrive at the next lesson, the hidden power of silence. Number 3, build emotional stability like a fortress. Have you ever felt like you're walking through a fog that won't lift, each step heavier than the last? Not because the road is harder, but because your spirit is tired. That's what life feels like when it's filled with toxic people. Not a battlefield, but a maze of emotional noise that wears you down slowly. You question your clarity, your direction, even your worth. But in that haze, there is a place of power you may have forgotten, the stillness within you. The Stoics remind us that we are not disturbed by events, but by our judgments about them. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This isn't just philosophy, it's a compass for the soul. Because in a world that will always throw chaos your way, emotional stability becomes the warrior's shield. Not indifference, not detachment from life, but the deep understanding that you get to choose how much of the world's poison gets past your gates. I remember a man who used to walk through the town square each morning, quiet, steady, never in a rush. One day, someone hurled an insult at him, loud enough for everyone to hear. The man didn't flinch, he simply kept walking. Later, someone asked how he stayed so calm. He said, "If I don't pick up what they throw, I carry nothing." That's the art, that's the discipline, and it's not born overnight. It's trained moment by moment, breath by breath. You see, emotional stability isn't something you find, it's something you build. It's not about being numb, it's about being anchored, like standing in the eye of a hurricane while the storm howls around you, and knowing it can't touch the core of who you are. You achieve this through presence, through mindfulness, yes, but not as a trend, as a discipline. As a way to step back from the chaos, observe it and ask, is this worth my peace? Is this storm mine to enter? When you live this way, people will notice. You'll become unsettling to those who rely on your reaction to fuel their drama. And that's how you'll know you're on the right way. Not because you're avoiding hard conversations, but because you're refusing to be pulled into games that strip you of your clarity. So when the next storm comes, when someone's energy tries to drown your calm, remember, you're the builder of your fortress, you're the guardian of your mind, and the warrior who learns to breathe instead of break becomes untouchable in the face of noise. And now, let's move deeper into the subtle strength of silence. Number 4, set boundaries with quiet strength. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like a piece of your spirit was left behind, like something subtle but heavy was taken from you, not your time, not your words, but your peace? That's what it feels like when you let too many people draw on your energy without limits. Every interaction becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of your day, and without boundaries, the colors blur, the details fade, and the masterpiece becomes a mess you didn't intend. The Stoics understood this long before the word toxic was ever used. They knew that just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean it's worth your energy. Just because someone speaks doesn't mean you must answer. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or do, only what you do. That is the root of boundary setting, not rejection, but protection, not bitterness, but clarity. Picture your energy as a jug of water in the desert. Each drop matters. If someone comes to you with respect, warmth, and growth, your energy flows like nourishment. But if they bring only complaint, confusion, or chaos, then every drop given is a drop wasted. You are not heartless for choosing who receives your water. You are wise. You are learning the right way to care for your garden. I once heard of a monk who lived at the edge of a bustling village. He welcomed all who came, until one day a traveler arrived shouting insults, trying to provoke him. The monk sat silently. When the traveler demanded an answer, the monk replied, "If someone brings a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The traveler was stunned into silence. The monk smiled gently and returned to his tea. That's a warrior of peace. One who sets boundaries not with weapons, but with stillness. Boundaries aren't walls built from pain. They're gates guided by self-respect. You decide who enters and on what terms, not to isolate yourself, but to preserve your clarity, not to shut the world out, but to ensure that what gets in helps you grow. When you say, "This is where I stop," "This is what I don't allow," you are not being cruel. You are being honest with yourself. So start today, not by cutting everyone off, but by planting markers in your soul. This is where my peace lives. This is what I protect. This is where my garden ends and the wild begins. And from this place of quiet power we step into the next truth, how to disarm without a word. Number 5, read and protect your energy. Have you ever stepped into a room and felt your mood shift without anyone saying a word, like a dark cloud crept in behind someone's presence and settled over you without permission? That's the unseen weight of energy, and if you're not careful, it will color your entire day. But here's the deeper truth. The storm isn't always theirs. Sometimes it lingers because we haven't yet learned how to shield ourselves from it. The Stoics taught us to guard our inner citadel, to protect the mind like a sacred fire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," but I would add, also by the energy it allows near. This is where energy intelligence comes in. Not just the awareness of what surrounds you, but the mastery of how you let it affect you. Imagine your energy like the walls of an ancient city, not built to keep everything out, but designed to keep the wrong things from getting too close. I once heard of a man who carried a lantern through every village he passed. People thought it was to light his way, but when asked, he said, "I carry this not so I can see, but so I remember not to let the world dim me." That's what energy intelligence is. Not escaping the world, but walking through it with such grounded light that even chaos must adjust to your calm. Toxic people thrive on reaction, but when you stay anchored, when you choose patience or silence or distance, you become untouchable, like a tree that doesn't resist the wind but bends just enough to stay rooted. This isn't weakness, it's the flexibility of a warrior, one who knows the right way to win isn't always by clashing swords, but sometimes by refusing to swing at all. So when someone tries to pull you into their storm, pause, ask yourself, is this mine to carry? And then choose with intention how much of your energy you will give, if any. Because every time you respond with awareness instead of impulse, you rise, you grow, you lead not only yourself, but sometimes even the other person, back toward calm. And if this message lights something inside you, type "rooted" in the comments. It tells us you're walking this path too. And don't forget to subscribe so this strength stays with you through every storm. Now, let's keep going. It's time to talk about the subtle art of emotional disarming without ever saying a word. Number 6, stay focused. Ignore the noise. Have you ever had a moment where your vision was crystal clear, you knew exactly what you wanted, felt the fire in your chest, and could almost touch the future you were building until someone's doubt clouded it like smoke drifting into a clear sky? Maybe it was a sarcastic remark, a dismissive glance, or just the silence that says, "I don't believe in you." And just like that, your confidence trembled. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." They weren't concerned with convincing the crowd. They focused instead on guarding the inner flame. And in a world full of skeptics and distractions, that flame must be protected at all costs. Think of Jordan. He wasn't a philosopher or a warrior, just a young man with a vision to build something of his own. He wanted to start an online business, but the voices around him weren't supportive. Friends questioned his ambition. Family hinted that he should play it safe. Every comment was like wind pushing against a paper airplane, trying to send it off course. But Jordan didn't argue. He didn't explain. He simply got to work. Each morning he studied. Each evening he built. While others doubted, he refined. While others talked, he acted. There's a quiet strength in doing the work while others wait for you to fail. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you resilient. And that's what Stoicism prepares you for, not to fight every critic, but to walk past them with your eyes fixed forward. Imagine your goal like a distant mountain. The climb is yours alone. Along the way, people will shout from below, telling you which path to take or insisting you're climbing the wrong side. But a true warrior doesn't answer every voice. He trusts the compass within. That's the right way, not to be louder, but to be unwavering. Toxic people thrive on pulling your attention. They want you tangled in their doubt, wasting time defending your vision, but your focus is sacred. Like a raincoat in a storm, it won't stop the opinions from coming, but it will keep your spirit dry. Let their words fall around you while you keep building in silence. So, the next time someone questions your dream, don't hand them the pen to rewrite your story. Offer a nod, offer a smile, and carry on. You've got a mountain to climb, and this journey is yours alone. Now, let's uncover the next key: how to master silence as your greatest strength. Number 7, seek support, not isolation. Have you ever been around someone whose very presence unsettled your spirit, like a silent storm that rolls in without warning, darkening everything you were trying to keep bright? You try to stay calm, to rise above it. But the more you resist their energy, the more entangled you feel. It's like being stuck in emotional quicksand. And the Stoic inside you whispers, "Hold your ground." But sometimes, ground is held not alone, but with the wisdom of those who walk beside you. Stoicism isn't about isolation. It's about discernment, knowing when to carry your own weight, and when to let the insight of another help you see more clearly. As Seneca once said, even the wise need friends. Reaching out for support when dealing with toxic individuals isn't weakness, it's strategy. Just as a warrior seeks counsel before battle, we too must recognize the strength in shared perspective. There's a story of an old traveler who wandered into a dense forest. With each step, he felt the path twist darker, harder to navigate. He tried pressing on alone, but the thorns tore at his clothes, and doubt began to cloud his judgment. Then, an elder appeared, not to lead him, but to hand him a lantern. "You still walk your path," the elder said, "but now, with a clearer view." That's what true support feels like. Not rescue, but reflection. Not escape, but illumination. Sometimes the greatest clarity comes not from solitude, but from sitting across someone who listens without fixing, who reminds you who you are when you've momentarily forgotten. A quiet conversation, a thoughtful question, even a shared silence. It can break the fog that toxic energy creates around your mind. And in that clarity, you regain your ability to choose, not to react, but to respond. This is the right way, not to suffer alone out of pride, but to walk with those who sharpen your reason, protect your peace, and call you back to the path when you've wandered too far into the shadows. You are not less stoic for seeking support. You are more human and paradoxically more unshakable because of it. So ask yourself, when was the last time you allowed someone to hand you their lantern? Not to carry you, but to light the bend in the road you couldn't yet see. Because even the strongest warrior knows, enduring doesn't mean enduring alone. Now let's continue into the next Stoic truth about power, dignity, and how to respond without ever lowering your voice. Number 8. Reclaim power from self-doubt. Have you ever been in someone's presence and felt your energy dim, not because they raised their voice, but because something about them made you shrink inside? Maybe they didn't even say anything cruel, but their tone, their gaze, or just their energy made you question yourself. And without realizing it, you carried that weight home, not on your shoulders, but in your thoughts. This is the hidden battle most people never see. Not what toxic people say to us, but what we begin to say to ourselves afterward. The inner voice that whispers, maybe they're right. That's where the real damage happens. And that's where Stoicism once again becomes our anchor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't always walk away, but you can choose which thoughts to water. Imagine your mind as a garden. When you plant seeds of resilience, discipline, and quiet dignity, that garden grows strong. But if you let the weeds of doubt and self-hate take root, especially after being around toxic people, you begin to decay from within. I once heard a story of a sculptor who spent years working on a statue. One day, a passerby laughed and said, "That doesn't even look like a man." The sculptor didn't respond. He simply turned back to his chisel and whispered to himself, "I know what I'm building." That's the kind of internal dialogue that protects your peace. Not arrogance, not denial, just clarity. Toxic people are like archers, throwing arrows not always at your body, but at your self-worth. But if your sense of self is forged like a shield, their arrows break on impact. This doesn't mean you never feel the sting, but the warrior who chooses the right way knows pain is not the enemy, internalized lies are. So when your mind starts to spiral after an interaction, pause. Don't ask, "Why do I have to deal with this?" Instead, ask, "What is this teaching me about my boundaries, my strength, my clarity?" Reframing isn't pretending, it's reclaiming. It's choosing to interpret life through the lens of growth, not injury. Controlling your self-talk isn't about building walls around your heart. It's about deciding which voices get to shape your identity. And the loudest voice should always be your own, rooted in truth, not fear. Now, let's go deeper into the power of detachment and how choosing distance can sometimes be the highest form of wisdom. Number 9, think strategically, respond wisely. Have you ever felt like you're walking through a fog, not because you lack direction, but because someone's presence clouds every step forward? Their energy lingers like a weight in the air, making the simplest decisions feel uncertain. These are the moments that test not only our patience, but our clarity. And while it's tempting to react, to match chaos with chaos, Stoicism offers us a better way, a solution-oriented path that doesn't just protect our peace, but transforms adversity into growth. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This mindset doesn't mean you enjoy the presence of toxic people, it means you use it. Like a chess player who doesn't react impulsively to the opponent's move but plans 3 steps ahead, a Stoic learns to respond, not from emotion, but from vision. You observe. You listen. You remain still, not because you're weak, but because you're seeing the board clearly. There's a story of a merchant who had to deal with a notoriously difficult buyer, rude, impatient, and prone to insult. Instead of matching his hostility, the merchant adapted his tone, chose his timing, and anticipated what the buyer would demand next. He didn't win him over with force or argument, but with quiet, deliberate strategy. In the end, the buyer returned again and again, not out of admiration, but because he could no longer manipulate someone who wouldn't emotionally engage. That is the quiet power of strategic detachment. When you face toxicity, think like that merchant. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to control their behavior. What you control is your presence, calm, sharp, grounded. Like a tree rooted in firm soil, you may sway under pressure, but you will not break. You bend when needed, stand when it matters, and adapt without losing your essence. That's not avoidance. That's wisdom. Being solution-oriented doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend to be unaffected. It means you choose the right way forward, one that protects your values while also disarming conflict before it owns your peace. The warrior who learns this doesn't just survive conflict, he transforms it. So ask yourself, when faced with manipulation or noise, do you react or do you respond with intention? Because in the end, it's not the presence of toxic people that defines you, but the clarity with which you move through them. And as we near the final insight, we'll turn now to the one gift you can offer, toxic or not, that changes everything: your silence. Number 10. Walk away from useless battles. Have you ever felt your heart rate rise before a word is even said, because you already know how this conversation will end? You've danced this dance before, stepped on the same emotional landmines, and walked away more drained than changed. It's a familiar battlefield, but this time, what if you chose not to enter? The Stoics often reminded us that not everything requires our opinion, our energy, or our reaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up, and in a world where every disagreement feels like an invitation to war, this might be the most revolutionary act of all: silence." Imagine navigating a maze in total darkness. Every turn, a new wall, every wall, a potential bruise. But if you learn to pause, to feel, not flail, you begin to sense which paths lead nowhere. This is what dealing with toxic people can feel like. They bait you, provoke you, hoping to pull you into their chaos. But the warrior who has mastered restraint knows the right way is not to fight every enemy, but to know which enemies are not even worth naming. Take the story of Amelia. Every family dinner, her cousin would say something sharp, disguised as a joke. For years, she bit back, defended herself, argued, but the argument solved nothing, only left her exhausted and more isolated. One day, she tried something new. When the jab came, she paused, looked her cousin in the eye, and said nothing. The silence was powerful, not passive, not submissive, but strong. The air shifted, the tension lingered, but so did her peace, and for once, she left that dinner without regret. There's a difference between ignoring someone and refusing to be controlled by them. Arguments with toxic people are rarely about truth. They're about pulling you into their emotional gravity. When you stay still, when you breathe, when you choose reflection over reaction, you don't lose the battle, you rise above it. Empathy becomes your shield, patience your quiet sword. You begin to see the other person not as a villain to defeat, but as someone fighting battles of their own. You don't excuse their behavior, but you also don't let it dictate yours. So next time you feel the tension building, ask yourself, not how do I win, but is this really worth my peace? That one question may be all it takes to protect your energy, your dignity, and your path forward. And as we close this journey, one final Stoic truth remains. Let's bring everything home in the reflection that follows. Number 11. Spot and defuse fake kindness. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling more unsettled than seen, like something was off, but you couldn't quite name it? The words were polite, the smile was there, but deep down, something didn't feel right. It's the kind of interaction that leaves a faint unease in your chest, like smoke lingering long after the fire. And sometimes that smoke is the only warning you get. False cordiality is one of the most subtle forms of manipulation. It doesn't shout. It doesn't insult. It pretends. It offers you a handshake while hiding a blade behind its back. And the Stoics, with their deep understanding of human nature, would urge us not to fight fire with fire, but to observe the spark before it grows. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And this is the essence of how we face the two-faced. We don't expose them with drama or retaliation. We don't call out every fake compliment or backhanded gesture. We see them, we stay still, we remain intact. Think of a conversation where someone compliments your success, but their eyes don't match their words. Their smile ends at their lips. Their tone is too sweet. Their timing too rehearsed. They ask about your life, But somehow, their questions always circle back to small doubts and subtle comparisons. On the surface, it feels like interest. Underneath, it's erosion. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And with false cordiality, your reaction doesn't have to be loud. It has to be wise. You become the observer. You notice the patterns, the inconsistencies, the timing, the slight change in posture when others are watching. Like a musician noticing when a single note is off in a symphony, you learn to detect the dissonance in people's intentions. Let me tell you a story. A young architect named Dorian began working with a well-known senior partner, charming, articulate, always full of encouragement in public. But over time, Dorian noticed a pattern. His best ideas were subtly reworded and presented by the senior partner in meetings. His efforts were praised, but only in a way that made him seem like a helper, not a leader. At first, Dorian questioned himself. Maybe I'm imagining things. But then he paid closer attention, not to the words, but to the behavior. How the senior partner spoke to others about him, how his name never appeared on documents he helped write. Dorian didn't confront, he prepared. He built relationships, documented everything, and quietly positioned himself for independence. 1 year later, he launched his own firm. When asked why he left, he simply said, "Some collaborations teach you more by what's not said." He didn't burn the bridge. He outgrew it. This is the path of the Stoic warrior. Not easily provoked. Not blind, but deliberate. You don't react to every shallow grin or calculated gesture. You study patterns. You protect your peace not by hiding, but by choosing who truly deserves access to your truth. In a world full of pretenders, being able to recognize sincerity is a rare form of intelligence. And it starts by listening, not just to what people say, but how they say it. Not just to the words, but to the silences in between. Body language, tone, inconsistencies. These are not accusations. They are observations. And observation is the beginning of strategy. When someone's behavior shifts depending on the audience, take note. When their kindness is selective and their concern disappears when no one's watching. Remember, consistency is character, and false cordiality is the opposite of consistency. It's performance. You don't need to confront every mask. You just need to stop mistaking it for a face. This discernment is how you create space for truth to thrive, for real connection to grow. It's not about paranoia, it's about clarity, because only when you see clearly can you walk the right way, with strength, silence, and self-respect. So from this day on, carry with you the calm eyes of the Stoic. Learn to see beneath the surface, not with suspicion, but with wisdom. You are not here to chase facades. You are here to live in truth. And the ones meant for you will not need to pretend. So next time something feels off, trust it. Not every smile holds sincerity, and not every open hand deserves yours in return. Your peace is not something to gamble. It's a fortress, and stoicism is how you protect it. When you choose awareness over reaction, stillness over chaos, you begin to live with clarity. If this message resonated, type "guarded" in the comments to let us know you're walking this path. And if you're ready to go deeper into this journey, subscribe and join our free Stoic newsletter. The link is below. There's a world of wisdom waiting for you, and this is only the beginning. Stay steady, stay discerning. We'll see you in the next lesson.